For example, DHFR is a target for methotrexate. TS is a very good target for 5-FU or capecitabine or FUDR, etc. Topo1, topoisomerase 1, is target for drugs like topotecan or irinotecan. And Topo2 is target for toposide or adriamycin compounds. Also, you may have information about gene expression which are or they regulate the growth factors or the growth factor receptors, like epidermal growth factor, insulin-like growth factor, transforming growth factor, etc. Or genes that they involve to metastasis, or genes that they regulate the cell cycle to see how fast your cell grows or how potential your cells are concerning to evade the cell cycle. Because what we know up to now about G1, S, G2, M phase is the rule. But there are many exceptions, like the retroendoduplication. We know that the cancer cell can instantly go from G1 to S phase, and from G2, without performing mitosis, they can jump to G1. So no mitosis. If you escape mitosis, a huge majority of cytostatic works upon this mitosis phase, like taxanes, like alkaloids of vinca. So if your cells perform such a step, your drugs are useless. The genetic microarray can be followed by proteomics array, because as I told you, you must not forget that the targets of our drugs are not the genes or the RNA, but they are the proteins. So if we know exactly the levels of proteins that we have, we may schedule even better the treatment. So there are nowadays slides which, instead of probes of oligonucleotides, you stick antibodies and you can detect specific antigens. The only problem with protein arrays is that you need big amount of cancer cells. So you cannot avoid the issue of using tissue. So you cannot use protein arrays for circulated tumor cells. This is a problem. I don't know in near future how we may overpass it, but for now it's impossible to perform proteomics array accurately on circulated tumor cells. So, information that we may receive by chemosensitivity testing is, beside the cytostatic, is information concerning heat shock proteins, very popular nowadays, because we know that those proteins are responsible or they interfere with the feature of cancer cell to repair himself. Which means that there are studies who actually proved that especially HSP 90 and 70, but mostly 90, is strongly related with resistance to radiotherapy or hyperthermia. So if we have upregulation of those cells, which means that those cells are resistant to radiation and there would be no benefit from those. I don't know what happens in UK, but in other countries, locoregional therapy approaches are extremely popular, and it seems that they are effective. But we need to know that drugs behave completely different in hypoxic environment. And there was a scandal on May in ASCO conference concerning this issue. And it involves pancreatic cancer. Pancreatic cancer, up to May, there was, let's say, an informal line of therapy which includes Avastin. But after research has been discovered that if you already pancreatic cancer is developed in hypoxic environment, that's why there are factors who actually promote the malignant phenotype. So if you disrupt the vessels from pancreatic cancer, you make the environment more hypoxic, which means that transcriptional factors like HIF-1 alpha will promote more aggressive type of pancreatic cancer. So we know that locoregional therapies will not have the same sensitivity as systemic therapies. So chemosensitivity will provide information of what those cells will behave in a hypoxic environment. It can predict also adverse reactions, which means that since we know that most of the drugs are prodrugs, it means that they need enzymes to transform the prodrug to the active substance. Like 5-FU, the active substance is 5-FUMP. So we need to know if these enzymes actually transform the prodrug to the active form. Or we know that irinotecan need the activity of two enzymes, carboxyesterase 1 and 2, to transform in this substance, SN38. Or mutation is on DPD, which provides highly toxicity 5-FU. And nowadays, the single nucleotide polymorphism is very essential in pharmacogenetics, because we know that people can divide it to rapid metabolizers or bad metabolizers of drugs. So you may have a drug which can be active to your cancer cells, but if a person is an accumulator, means that the drug will accumulate inside, so you will achieve sky-high